Show you a few things first about light before we make our way to the CD. I've got a little laser pointer here. Here I've got a triangular prism. It's transparent plastic, has similar effect for glass. When you shine a laser straight on through, you see it come out somewhere else. Every time light goes through an interface, in other words, between air into plastic, from plastic to air again, it changes direction a bit. And because this is a laser, it's exactly one color, and it stays mostly together. If this were a white light shining through, we would see a bit of a rainbow on the wall, because each color of light changes direction a little differently. Now to show you that, here is a diffraction grating. What this is are many, many lines, vertical lines. There are on this one 1,000 lines per millimeter, so one line every micrometer. What it's made of, I don't know, but by this point that technology is well known, so we can look that up in a book. If I shine the laser pointer through it, we see not only the central spot on the wall, but on each side is a spot. We say that the laser is diffracted through it, and the more lines there are per millimeter, the further away that diffraction spot will be. Now the way that we know there are lines on a CD is by simply bouncing a laser off of it. We see diffraction spots. Just like the diffraction grating, we know there must be lines on the CD, in this case of a very similar size. You see how far away those diffraction spots are? There versus there with the grating. So I'm guessing that the lines of data on a CD are spaced out by about a micrometer, or in other words, about 1,000 lines per millimeter. One thing to note is that if you use a diffraction grating to look at the colors coming off of a lamp, here they are to the side, of course it's bent, you see a full rainbow. However, from a computer screen, let me turn off the lamp here. From a computer screen, red, green, blue, a computer screen does not give a spectrum of colors. It gives tiny pixels, each one red, green, or blue. And so if we look at it through a diffraction grating, that's all we see is millions of pixels, each one being red, green, or blue. But a lamp is hot and gives the full color spectrum. If we look at the sun, we'll see something similar. If you look outside at sodium lamps, some streetlights, you'll actually see a bright yellow-orange color from elemental sodium that has one big line in it. Well, it has several big lines in it, but there's especially the red-orange ones, 2 of them. One more thing that I have here is a crystal called calcite. Calcite is special because not only will, like the prisms, light bend when it goes from one to the other, air to plastic, plastic to air. With calcite, it has, as we say, 2 indices of refraction, or a complex one if you do the math. If you look through it, you see 2 images of everything. If you had a window made of calcite, well, you would see 2 trees outside, even when there's only 1 tree. You would see 2 of everything. Each polarization goes a different way. And because my lamp and everything here, the reflection off a computer, is unpolarized, we see about an even split. I really like calcite, and I loved to invest in a gigantic block of it, because then I can do things like shoot a laser through it. see two laser spots on the wall. This laser is unpolarized. Each polarization gets split into a different direction. There's some reflections off the CD there. And then there are some little incidental ones because this crystal has a lot of little inclusions in it. You know, it's not perfect. Okay, that's what I have to show you. Now let's take Arthur Fiedler and the Boston Pops, and I'll tell you what I did to get this under the microscope. Part of a CD using a piece of tape. First, by using a knife, scratching two radial lines, then using this piece of tape to quickly tear off the metallic portion with the label. Now, the metallic portion does have an imprint of the data, and so we should be able to see it under the microscope. It's of course going to be smaller when we cut it, so we can stick it onto a slide. I'd like to show you that using this light bulb here, we can see a rainbow effect. It's acting as a reflection grating, basically a diffraction grating. That tells us that there are small lines along it. Those lines will be the ones which contain the data, the music in this case. I've mounted a small cutout of that metallic portion under the microscope on a slide, underneath the cover glass, of course. There it is in the center there. We're going to start with low magnification and try to work our way up until we see the lines of pits in the CD. First at 4 times magnification, plus maybe 2 times from the phone camera, I'd like to show you the damage that I did by ripping off this thin piece of metal from the CD. The darker lines that you see going horizontally, those are just breaks that I caused. By ripping it with the tape, I just caused the brittle material to break. And at the bottom, of course, you see large chunks that are broken. And some interesting color effects. You see a little bit of a red or green halo, because I do have top lighting from a few LEDs pointing at this. As we go deeper into the magnification, the top lights may become important, because I'm not sure that my halogen light can, oh, there we go, maybe be seen all the way through. I've just turned up the lighting quite a bit. Let's go to a deeper magnification. Here is a 10 times objective, so a total of 100 times magnification. We see a lot of spotting and an interesting moire pattern. Right there. I'm not sure what's causing that. Either way, let's take a look around. We see light coming through some of those breaks in the material. I'll stick in the central portion here so that the brightness doesn't keep readjusting. Some interesting patterns happening between the phone sensors and whatever grid pattern is on the sample itself. Let's dive into the 40 times objective for a total of 400 times magnification. And I do see something. Now that it's in focus, I'll use the phone camera digital zoom to bring it closer. There we are. So what I'm seeing are, there we go, a lot of vertical lines. Those are some of the pits containing the data. I'm just going to adjust the lighting here. I've seen at least one person use a 20 times eyepiece to get a total of 2,000 times magnification, but I don't think that's necessary. I'll pop it up to the 60 times objective. Oop, there we go. I am very, very delicately touching the fine focus knob. Got it. So let's see, we have a 60 times objective times a 10 times eyepiece, so that's 600 times total magnification, with the phone camera providing an additional 4 times. Now let me do 8 times instead. Of course, there they are. And every time I touch the focusing knob, the phone's camera tries to take over and misses them. I like this view right here. So these pits, etched with lasers and read with lasers, encode the ones and zeros of the information. On DVDs, I suspect that they will be denser, they'll be tighter packed, maybe using a lower wavelength laser to read them off. I do hear other people extracting blue lasers out of DVDs or Blu-rays. I don't know anything about that, but that might be interesting to compare the sizes. I think we have a piece of dust here. Let's do a rough check. For the width of that piece of dust, there look to be about 20 tracks of the CD. And lengthwise, there may be, looking at it, something on the order of 10 bits lengthwise. So one piece of dust would cover something like 200 bits of information. Interesting. Now I'm just panning to the side. Oh, now here is a very clear part. I don't know why this area seems to be so clear, but that would make a good thumbnail right there. Here's what you see through the eyepiece, and here is with the phone camera's digital zoom. So what you're seeing right now is 60 times objective, 10 times eyepiece, and 8 times digital zoom, giving a grand total of quite a lot. I'll just do a little bit more looking around. Some things we expect, of course, are that the grooves will stay in the same direction and be roughly the same size. As I'm panning, I'm having to change the focus to keep a focal plane on the sample, which is not perfectly flat. And so you get some interesting patterns between the phone sensor and those lines on the surface. Now here, oh, there we go. Here is a good shot. Here is where I believe the top lighting from the LED lamps is giving the main source of light. I believe this is a reflection of light off the surface, and to test that theory, I'm going to turn the light underneath down. Well, looks like I was wrong. This light is coming from underneath the sample. Although it does look like these pits are giving shadows, unlike the other ones. Here I've zoomed into 8 times zoom on the digital zoom on the camera. I'm going to play with the condenser. Okay, now I'll play with the iris, which lets more or less light in. There we go, with a mostly closed iris. These small figures are giving some diffraction. Would have made them easier to see had they been too small otherwise, but they are not. We can see them just fine here. Now I'll play with the top lighting. So I've turned off all the top lighting. It had zero effect. My top lights were doing nothing to help. Here is the other part of the sample where we could see, well, it looks different. I don't know why this looks different. Here it looks as though we're looking at holes through a sample. But if I pan back over, it looks as if we're seeing a shadow on top of a sample. I don't know what the difference is. Oh, I know. This orange color isn't the light. I believe this orange color is the color of the label, the backside of the label coming through. So this region here was where there were some black letters or black color on the label. Okay, I'm going to end it here at 10 minutes with this shot. I'm going to make a permanent mount of this small chunk of the CD metal. To do that, I'm going to take my slide and cover slip, give them a good cleaning with some isopropanol. I keep it in a spray bottle because I'm always using my jars of pond water and algae, and I need to keep those in my hands and all my equipment sterilized when handling growth of bacteria. So 70% isopropanol and some Kim wipes. I got the large ones because I was impatient while ordering them. There's still some immersion oil on these. Okay, that's good enough. Not sure I've ever cleaned a cover slip without breaking it. But I'll show you when it's ready. Here's how I do it. I've got a clean slide, clean cover glass. I'm going to put the sample right in the middle. Going to give a drop of oil. Kind of lazy, so I'll just squirt on some immersion oil. Get that cover glass on there. I don't mind if I get a fingerprint on the top. Get some of that oil all the way around. Then I'll clean off the excess oil and use some clear nail polish. What is this? Generic dollar Walmart clear nail polish, and go around the edges with it. I usually do 2 or 3 coats. And then, of course, just before or during that, when it's still wet, you're going to want to press down and push the air bubbles out. That is, unless your specimen is fragile. So I've got it mounted here with that nail polish sealing the edges, and it's still real dirty. There's still streaks of oil across the top of this cover slip. That's okay. I just want to make sure before I spend time cleaning it that you can still see all of the features on it. So let's pop this in here. Here's with a 10 times objective and a 10x eyepiece and no digital camera zoom. Now let's pop it to 40 times objective. Total of 400 times magnification. bring it into focus, and through the eyepiece you may see the streaks of data. You've really got to use one extra layer of zoom. In this case, my phone's camera zoom. There they are. Let's go all the way into 8 times. Now the lighting is at maximum. Let's take a look around the sample. A little bit like Doctor Who here. Not sure what that glare is. Okay, I am happy with this permanently mounted slide, and I will add that to the collection.